A little fan run TV, breaking news, instant analysis. SEC Media Day is going on right now in Atlanta, which means it's talking season, which means it's time to start looking at some storylines and creating some controversy. And that's exactly what's happened here on day one, Cody McClure, as Nick Saban poised to return to college football, poised to return to the sidelines, according to his former player and national champion, Greg McElroy.
I think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. I don't think Nick Saban's actually going to come back and coach. But I do think it's going to be a topic this week and probably during the season. Now that it's out there, people, especially with coaches who are on the hot seat, going to be talking about it.
Oh, yeah. Like if the odds of Nick Saban actually returning to coach college football, 10%, in my opinion, 10%.
The guy's coached for half a century. I mean, he started out as an assistant in the 70s. So, like, he's had a full career. He's done everything you could possibly do as a coach.
I don't think his chances of returning to the sidelines, period, are 10%. I'd probably put it more at 20%. I think there's a chance he goes to the NFL. I'm taking both of these. Like, I could see him saying, hey, I want one more shot in the NFL. I miss coaching. Let's do this for 2 or 3 or 4 years. I know the Cleveland Browns were floated there, a place that, he kind of got his start.
It felt like at the end of his college career, he was pretty fed up with the NIL stuff.
Right.
But, after that, he's gotten into kind of the political side of it, meeting with President Trump about this college football committee and this, like, if all the legal stuff gets worked out and they get a system in place with rules and regulations, you think maybe he would be more willing to get back into the college game if there were some parameters?
Well, there are some guidelines that have now been put in place. Yeah, they are trying to figure out the NIL. It's not as much of the Wild West as it was, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, or even last offseason. By the time we get through this season, by the time we get to October, to November, there will be some actual guidelines, some rules, some regulations. You've already seen the committee kind of come out and start ixnaying some of the deals that some of these players have gotten, saying, hey, nope, this is just pay for play. There's no business value here. Can't do this deal. And they're trying to work through that. But like I said, I don't think Nick Saban's coaching again. I don't think that's going to happen. But same way I never really thought that John Gruden was going to ever come to college to play, to coach the Vols or coach any college, really. But the thing is, just like the groomers, just like Gruden, sorry, we are a University of Tennessee podcast. We have to mention John Gruden when we can. But just like that, the rumors will be out there. It becomes a storyline. He becomes the white whale. He becomes the guy that everyone looks at. And to me, it's funny for a couple of reasons. It's funny because Alabama doesn't necessarily have an entrenched coach, I don't think, with Kalen DeBoer. Like, I don't necessarily think he's on the hot seat. We talked about this last week on Talk Sports, the award-winning morning show here at Fan Run Radio every day from 7 to 10 a.m. But, like, Kalen DeBoer's not necessarily on a hot seat, but I wouldn't call him 100% safe just because of the Alabama fan base and the expectations there. And now, does your opinion change when Nick Saban, the ghost, is now not only hovering around in the building, working with the program, but maybe has an interest to get back coaching?
Well, if I were an Alabama fan, I mean, that would be my ultimate dream, is that, hey, let's just get Coach back. He's still here. He's not that far removed. He's not outdated.
It's still his program.
Let's just bring Coach back. If you're Kalen DeBoer, you have to feel just tiny in that building, don't you?
Like, you just got even smaller.
Like when you're the head coach, the head football coach of Alabama, you should be the big dog in that state, not just in Tuscaloosa, not just in the Birmingham area, but in the state of Alabama. But yet Kalen DeBoer is not that. He walks into the local diner eventually the conversation turns to Nick Saban somehow. Like, and it's always going to be that. Unless he wins himself a national title or two, like the standard's just too high. I don't know how you deal with that if you're a coach.
Well, it gets even funnier. He gets even smaller. The pressure gets ramped up even more with these rumors out here now. Not only like, around closed doors and closed conversations, but, a Bammer, Greg McElroy, a national respected college football voice, brings it out of the shadows into the national spotlight, to where now this will be a conversation and people will be gauging. At the very least, go ahead and mark it down. You'll get the stories in late September, October of so-and-so's representatives are reaching out to Nick Saban's representatives to gauge his interest. Same as you'll have it in the NFL to his equivalent, like Bill Belichick. Those stories will start popping up in October of NFL teams reaching out to Belichick regarding his interest to come coach in the NFL. That's going to happen, and it's going to impact Alabama and DeBoer if they lose a game or two early on. And it's going to be funny on the other side of the state, Auburn. Just that's the potential funniest thing to do, is that they fire Hugh Freeze and offer Nick Saban $20 million a year. And keep in mind, like, Auburn has shown no weariness to come in, to paying big salaries or big buyouts. Like they were paying like 3 coaches at one time not too long ago.
Auburn, you got to say, if you say anything for Auburn, you got to at least admit that they're willing to try to win. Like, their football administration has always tried to keep them relevant and tried to go higher. They've taken a chance on some big name coaches. Hasn't always worked out for them, but they're willing to be dirty. They're willing to do what needs to be done to try to win. I don't think Nick Saban would ever do that. I don't think he would ever go to Auburn.
No, it would have to be like a deal where, they were paying him $25 million a year.
Yeah,
and he was going just to taint his legacy.
It'd be a blank check.
Yeah, that would be gross. But, I do kind of wish now that, like, Texas had missed the playoffs last year, and that Sarkisian wasn't under the safest of spotlights, or he wasn't under the safest of terms, I should say, because right now his job's pretty safe. But if they were to come out and kind of stumble and go, 9-3,
well,
you'd have some people say, hey, Sarkisian's schedule last year was just pretty easy. Or Mike Elko, Texas A&M's always wanting to buy something. But no, both of those wild cards, both of those.
How about Texas Tech? How about big oil man Cody Campbell out there?
Now that would be interesting.
Like, he's willing to buy a roster. The billionaire, he's willing to fund an entire roster. He's willing to have a great coach.
He's willing to pay millions for softball. Like,
yeah.
Like, what's to stop him and Patrick Mahomes just from being like, hey, Nick Saban,
right,
here's $20 million. And if you're Saban, you're like, the Big 12, it'd be kind of fun.
If I'm Cody Campbell, I'm like, look, I'll handle all the personnel. Like, you just tell me who you want. I'll stroke the checks. Like, you don't have to worry about anything.
I like that name. That name is interesting.
Yeah.
That school is interesting.
You got to think Saban, like, it's going to be a certain number of states in the southeast to Texas, right? Like,
sure.
There's
he ain't going west of Texas.
He ain't going to the north.
No.
He ain't going west of Texas. Like, you can pretty much boil it down to SEC country.
Yeah.
Like, if he were to coach again, I feel like that's where it would be.
I think, like I said, I would throw the NFL in there just to add 10%. But no, ultimately, I don't think either one of us thinks he's ever coaching again, right?
I don't think so, no.
But I would have said, it was like a 3% chance before today. So It has gone in my, my personal record book from 3% to 20%. And who knows, maybe by the time September rolls around, it'll be 30%. Unless he comes out and completely squashes it. Like, do you think he has to address these rumors now at this point?
I think with Alabama people, like, if he wants DeBoer to be successful, he should try to help him somewhat, like, it's not going to help Kalen DeBoer if Alabama gets off to a tough start. Say they lose to Florida State or something, and then they're got a couple of losses by November. That pressure is going to really mount.
What if Brian Kelly or Billy Napier? struggle because
That's what I'd worry about.
Both of those programs, national championship, good. Got, what you said, a couple states. You look at the return to LSU, or Florida with their obvious advantages in recruiting and just infrastructure and all of that. Like both of those schools, we don't get Texas or Texas A&M because I think both are in a good spot, but like we do maybe get Florida and LSU.
Saban at Florida would be terrifying, and it would be one that would really sting because he had gotten to the point at Alabama where you just kind of respected it, like you hated losing to him every year, but after you just get beaten down so many times, you become kind of like one of Pavlov's dogs, and you just accept it and you say, well, this is what Nick Saban does. At least I can respect that loss every year.
What do you think Pavlov's dogs do?
I don't know the story exactly. I just know basically that they eventually just kind of like just tucked the tail or whatever and just did what he said, right?
No.
Like they didn't.
No.
I thought he basically like beat them or whatever so much that they just eventually he was the master and he commanded them and they obeyed.
No, that's not what happened.
That's not what happened with Pavlov's dogs?
No.
What happened?
He didn't beat him, I don't think.
Well, I don't know if he actually beat him, but
I mean, maybe we could get here in your comparison. Maybe
basically they were just trained to a point to
see
obey.
Nick Saban, so you not exactly that, but you see Nick Saban, so you're just classically conditioned to like whimper and be like, because like
that's kind of what I was saying.
Yeah.
Can you explain in detail?
I was going to say
the theory of Pavlov's dogs.
We could maybe get there if we try on that angle, but like the concept was just a dinner bell. Essentially, you're familiar with the dinner bell? Not necessarily the restaurant, but the idea of like, hey, I'm ringing a dinner bell.
I don't even know the story. I just know that they were like conditioned.
Yeah, they got classically conditioned. He would feed them and ring a bell.
Okay.
And they'd come running and like they're drooling and they're like, hey, it's dinner time, it's supper time. And then eventually that just led to him ring the bell and them running and starting to drool. And like, they heard the bell, they expected food. They were conditioned to know bell means food.
So like for us, every third Saturday in October, Nick Saban just rung the bell and he said, hey, Tennessee, it's time for your annual ass whipping.
Kind of.
That's kind of what I was going for. I feel like I was on the right track there.
Yeah.
I didn't know exactly the story of Pavlov's dogs, but
that's essentially it.
So
then Schrodinger, he had a cat. There was a whole thing.
What happened with his cat?
You don't want to know what happened with the cat.
Oh,
that was kind of the theory
behind
that.
Dark story.
You just didn't want to know.
Okay, Schrodinger kind of problematic.
He's more so problematic than Pavlov.
Okay.
Like you didn't want to like if you didn't want to actually know what was in the box. Like there was something with like there's a dead cat in the box.
Right.
But you don't really know if it's there until you open it. And then once you open it, it becomes reality. That's kind of how I live my life. That's how when I was in college, I never wanted to check my grades because I didn't make an F on a test if I didn't open it to see that I made an F. I just lived my life thinking I got like a C+. So I think with Schrodinger's cat, you don't want to know that the cat is in the box. Does that make sense?
Is it like you have a missing cat and you don't know what happened to it, but you think Schrodinger has it? Or
I don't think that's really it. It's really just like you don't. Reality is altered once you realize that something is there. Is kind of the idea.
I see.
It becomes reality once you see it, but in your mind, you don't know if there's a cat in there or not.
Okay, that makes sense. But Saban to Florida would be really, with all that talent down there and all the speed and it would bother me to lose to Saban at Florida. My point was I had come to accept the Alabama loss.
I'll allow, like I said, I think it's close enough to the Pavlov and his dog.
I'm at a point as a Tennessee fan now that I feel I'm above Florida. I feel like as a program, we've taken a step past Florida.
Sure.
If Nick Saban were to get hired at Florida, I would no longer feel that way. And then I would have to begin to group them in with the Georgias of the world. I'm tired of always having to accept at least 1 or 2 losses every year to our biggest rivals.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Now, maybe the trade-off there is you grow beyond Alabama, and then Alabama just becomes the new whipping boy of the SEC. But I still feel like it's going to be a while before that happens.
Yeah, I'm firmly on board with him going to Texas Tech. That would be funny.
That'd be great.
I'm on board with him going to Auburn. That'd be funny.
I could root for him at Texas Tech.
I think we're both in agreement. Hell no to Florida.
Right.
What about LSU?
That's still close to home. I mean, because we're still going to be competing with them for recruits and for.
Well, we're going to recruit with Auburn as well, but the comedy factor would be enough there to maybe offset it for a couple of years.
Yeah, I mean,
Florida's a hell no. What about LSU?
He's already burned us once at LSU.
Yeah,
24 years ago. We all remember what happened there.
Never forget.
2001. That should have been us getting our ass whipped by Miami.
That's right.
And ended up being Nebraska. So Saban's been, I can't imagine he'd have too much longer that he'd want to do this, but you got to wonder if he's just been on the golf course, just been hanging out with Miss Terry in his spare time. Like a guy who's an ultra competitor like that, you kind of understand that he might want to get back into the mix. It's hard for guys who are that successful to retire.
You didn't answer the question.
What's the question?
Of whether or not you want him to go to LSU.
I don't want him to.
No.
I don't want him to.
Okay. I just didn't know if you missed him on the sidelines enough to be like, LSU would be fine.
In a way, I do miss him being a part of the game.
Uh-huh.
But Legend. I really don't want to have to play him every year.
Well, we don't play LSU every year.
True. I'd be more okay with that than I would be Florida.
Sure.
Obviously.
Understood.
Do you think he would do something like, let's say he does want to get back into coaching. Would it be Alabama or bust?
That's why I think it would be like maybe the NFL. I don't think Alabama fans would be upset if he went to the NFL.
No.
They'd be upset if he went to any other college.
I wonder what he feels.
And I don't think it'd be Alabama or bust because, I don't think – unless he just straight up said, I want my job back, and Kalen DeBoer wasn't, 11-1 and competing for a national championship. And even if Kalen DeBoer was 11-1, he might go into the playoff like Ryan Day did last year, where it's like, hey – win a national championship or bust, bucko. And, maybe the players are having to decide, do we want Kalen to win or do we want Nick back? I don't know. But, I can't see him really coaching in college and, ruining his legacy at Alabama. And I do think him going anywhere else would taint that legacy. Not so much from, a GOAT standpoint, but just, being beloved and being able to, be the king of Alabama.
Right, because it feels like at this point he is synonymous with Alabama.
And I would take that as an insult if I was an Alabama fan. And he went somewhere else in the SEC. Even if it wasn't necessarily practical. That's why I think maybe the NFL would be the more likely route.
Do you think Florida fans felt that when Spurrier went to South Carolina? Do you think they had some of those?
Yeah, definitely.
I feel
what year did Spurrier go to South Carolina?
I know he was there in 2005.
Would they have had Urban Meyer yet? No, right? Because
yes,
they would have had
Urban Meyer got hired at Florida in 2004,
okay.
Right? Because was he with Utah in 2004? It was right around 2004, 2005.
I thought he was with Utah in 2004 because I thought Alex Smith was the 2005 number 1 pick.
2005 might have been year one for Urban and Spurrier.
Yeah, 2005 Urban Meyer, Florida.
That may have been Spurrier's first year too.
Let's see here.
How many years did Spurrier spend in the NFL? It wasn't long.
It wasn't long. Spurrier went to South Carolina 2005. Yeah, so it was the
same year.
I don't know what the pecking order was, and maybe they were cool. Maybe they're like, hey, let's just get Urban Meyer instead. So probably not.
If it worked out.
But if they'd had Ron Zook, they probably would have been like, hey, let's just get Spurrier back.
Well, and they probably viewed South Carolina at the time as kind of inferior to them.
Right.
Which Alabama would view most schools that way. I think, like if he went to Texas Tech, I don't think Alabama fans would be all that bothered by it. But if he goes anywhere in the SEC, it'll be different.
Maybe Venables gets fired.
That's another name.
They hire Josh Heupel.
Okay, I see where you're going.
Then maybe we, hire Nick Saban. I don't know.
He's used to getting a team ready for the third Saturday in October.
Would you take that trade?
All day, baby.
What if
all day
what
long?
If Spurrier only had 3 years?
Saban, you mean?
Yeah, sorry. I don't think Spurrier's got 3 years left in him.
I'd ride with it.
Yeah.
By year 3, I'd feel like we'd have a national champion contender. Yeah, I'd do it. Lock it in.
I think every fan base is going to have that type of discussion, though, this offseason. That's what's so funny. Like, even if this is just completely out of left field, not true, the thing is, Nick Saban isn't going to be able to convince people it's not true because he all lied to us about the Alabama job. When he was with the Dolphins, he just flat out said, I'm not going to Alabama.
Yeah, the whole Bama tenure was based on a lie.
So no matter what he says, like, no one's going to believe him. So every fan base is going to be making that decision.
What if you're the chicken man at Arkansas? You see this news today. Sam Pittman's on his way out. You
rode the wrong horse with Calipari. You should have saved your money.
Yeah.
You put all your eggs, your chicken eggs, you get it into the John Calipari
I do
basket.
get it. That's pretty good. That's comedy.
That's comedy. All right. Well, any final thoughts?
Just hope he doesn't go to Florida.
We'll rehash a lot of this conversation tomorrow on Talk Sports, 7 to 10 a.m. right here on Fan Run Radio.